AITA. Am I the a-hole for bringing a baby to a class? Hi, please let me know because I'm honestly not sure. For context, my university is completely online. I'm male and 20 years old. Okay, last week, a family emergency happened, and it required my aunt and uncle to leave their house at late night. I live close to them, and they have a baby that's less than a year old. So, they called my parents to tell them about the emergency, and then called me. They asked if I could come into their house, take care of their baby until they came back, and I was down with that. I've taken care of babies before, so, this wasn't new to me. Took my stuff, and drove to their house, stayed with my cousin. Now, by the time my morning class comes about, my aunt and uncle haven't shown up yet, which was within expected. They told me they'll be back by 1-2 p.m., and I had my baby cousin in my lap, setting up laptop for my morning class, and my cousin falls asleep, and I'm like, okay, I can deal with this. A sleeping baby is the best kind of baby. Do not move them. Now, here's the problem. I had a presentation to do, and so my video is off, as I'm preparing to give it, and the professor goes, "OP, please turn on your camera." I have a sleeping baby right now, so, is that okay with you? A sleeping baby? Yeah, there was a family emergency, so my cousin's asleep on me right now. I don't want to say the details in class, but I can email you after class, and supply any proof you need. It's fine, please turn on your camera. So I do, and my cousin is asleep, and I give the entire presentation, and I'm really proud of how it went, because I think I did really well, and I answer all questions, and my cousin doesn't wake up. Like, this is the best case scenario. Well, last night, I got my grade for the PowerPoint, along with an email from the professor that says, she marked me down because she felt the baby was there as a pity prop, and I was attempting to gain sympathy, and if I hadn't had the baby, I would have gotten higher. So was I the a-hole for showing up with a baby? I didn't think about the pity aspect. No. NTA. Not the a-hole. You should take that note from the teacher to academic affairs. It's inappropriate and out of line, and your grade shouldn't be lower because of a professor's bias. I've been in grad school and had peers bring babies into the classroom, and there's no penalty. Because you gotta do what you gotta do. Her idea that it's for pity points doesn't even make sense. He wasn't even going to turn on his camera, she was the one who insisted on it even after he warned her. This is wholly inappropriate. I will never understand why professors seem to hold themselves so high and mighty, and refuse to extend common decency to their students. I have a friend whose professor will assign like 10-hour assignments and give them one day to finish it. I am an elementary teacher, and we bend over backwards for our kids. I have spent hundreds of dollars just on food for them. OP, please save this email, and take the documentation to academic affairs / the head of your professor's department / the dean if you have to. You deserve your full score and your professor deserves to be punished. NTA. Not the a-hole. I would honestly report the professor. It's incredibly unprofessional and flat out wrong. Your presentation was perfectly fine and we are in uncharted times. They have to be flexible. You had an emergency. If they can't grade you without the baby being part of the equation, they obviously aren't a capable teacher. Who knows how else they grade based off pity rather than what you earn. NTA. Not the a-hole. I've taken my baby into a lecture / lab and I was the instructor. She was a newborn and wrapped to my chest. Once she was old enough to move around, she went to a sitter. It was the only option for the first 2 months, because I had less than a week's notice that I needed to teach the class. If she was fussy, then the whole class got a 5-10 minute break. Most of the students loved it because it humanized me. I was very young to be teaching at the college level, and most of my students were older than me, moms returning to get their degrees after their kids went to school, and veterans using their GI Bill were the majority of our students. It wasn't a long-term solution, but it worked for us. I had students bring older kids when the sitter couldn't make it, or the kid was interested in the topic of the day. It was a branch campus in a rural area that was highly religious. Family was important, and I'm thankful the school was so accommodating to all of us. I don't really care for kids, particularly shrieking babies, and while I'd be pretty annoyed if the kid was crying the entire time, my only thought would be, let them present another day or something, because shit happens, life happens, and he's watching a kid temporarily. Cool, good on him, I think it's great, but get it out of the room for everyone else's sake, never mind the irritation of a screaming infant, but talk about feeling stressed out while presenting, especially when they're your responsibility. But this shite is straight up insane. Like, the kid probably was sight unseen, and had OP not even mentioned, hey, I'm watching my infant cousin right now due to a family emergency, so apologies in advance if he/she wakes up and starts crying, it wouldn't have been an issue. Sounds like the professor thinks he only said it for pity points in case something went wrong, and I wonder if it's because they have an axe to grind over the whole online only bit. Wow. AITA. What's next? She notices a cat sleeping in the background and marks you down for trying to get pet points. I'd report her. It could be a catastrophe. AITA in the slightest. She's a shitty teacher. You having a baby asleep on you should not affect your grade at all. It's not like you could have helped your family situation at that time. She's most definitely the a-hole. Normally I would be against bringing a baby to class, because they tend to be disruptive. But in this case, AITA. Baby was sleeping, it was an emergency, and you offered to leave the camera off and told your teacher why. I am curious, what kind of black magic you used to keep the baby asleep for the entire presentation. Babies seem to have a sixth sense for interrupting things. AITA. I'd report them to their superiors. If it is an online course, and similar events are common especially this year with more people staying at home. The kid was not disrespectful, and the event was last second for them to stay with you. This teacher is being disrespectful. AITA at all, and also excuse me. Your prof made a laughable assumption to me, and you would in fact be well within your rights to formally complain about it in my opinion. In any case, you should dispute your mark with them and give them the whole story. AITA. And I would report that to someone at your school. Especially now, everyone needs the flexibility to take care of family at times. I also seriously doubt she would have done that, if it was a woman who had the baby on camera. AITA. Normally I would call anyone bringing a kid to class a total inconsiderate a-hole because there's always at least a potential for disruption. But this was a Zoom class, not a physical one, you didn't disrupt or disturb the class, or other students learning in any way at all, and they wouldn't even have known the baby was there if your webcam hasn't been on. That professor was just being petty and unprofessional, and you should report him/her. AITA. Actual professor here. Your professor is behaving unprofessionally. Where is the grading rubric that specifies that holding infants during presentations is inappropriate? Here's what I advise you to do: forward the email to the professor's department chair, adding a note dispassionately explaining that needing to babysit during a family emergency is not a request, symbolic or otherwise, for pity. I would also add that during the pandemic, professors are being asked to take into account that many students' home situations are complicated. Your professor has failed to do this. Good luck to you, and please do advocate for yourself. That skill is just as important as any class presentation.